The following program is brought to you by the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, assuring solid returns from solid investment in early childhood development.
Welcome to the promise of Michigan's Great Start Initiative. I'm Christy McDonald. All across the nation, we're hearing more and more about early childhood development and how it sets the foundation for a child's life. There is an array of leaders, researchers, and economists all pointing at early childhood investment as the answer to a more successful economy and a better life, not just for the child, but for our society as a whole. There is no dispute that early childhood is a period of rapid change and development. Many parents are looking for ways to instill knowledge and understanding, even at a prenatal stage, in the hopes that their child will someday lead a fulfilling and successful life. But who is leading the way here in Michigan to ensure that all children have everything they need during those first 5 years of life so that they are developmentally ready for the first day of kindergarten? Great Start is Michigan's nationally recognized statewide initiative to foster school readiness and life success for young children. The purpose of Great Start is to assure a coordinated system of community resources and support to assist all Michigan families in providing a great start for their children from birth to age 5. To be successful in school and in life, children must grow up in an environment that develops self-confidence, positive social and emotional skills, and a love for learning. But how did Great Start evolve and why? What was going on in our local communities that propelled a group of individuals to come together to create change? Well, brain research began emerging. It was getting more and more attention from Michigan lawmakers, philanthropic and business communities who were compelled by the idea that starting early could reverse increasing problems and costs that were associated with school failure, rising healthcare costs, and decline in the preparedness of Michigan's workforce. The Ready to Succeed initiative was formed and began a focused effort designed to move Michigan towards support for early childhood development. I'd like to introduce to you two individuals who were part of the early adopters of early childhood investment in Michigan: Marianne Udow-Phillips, Director for the Center for Healthcare Research and Transformation, and Craig Ruff, Policy Fellow of Public Sector Consultants. Marianne and Craig, thanks so much for being here with us.
Great to be with you.
Craig, start at the beginning for me. Take us back. When this all first started, what drew this group of leaders together, and what was the conversation?
Let me start with the conversation. First of all, it was a great mix of leaders from philanthropy, healthcare, education, business, labor unions, faith, media.
And you got them all to agree and to come together.
We got them to agree to come together because I think you nailed it. Brain research in the mid-1990s was proving demonstrably that what you did with a child in terms of nurturing and reading to the child, social skills, put in that neuroscience, that physiology of the brain, such incredible potential to grow and grow fast. They came together at a meeting in Detroit. We agreed as a group at a summit that there were next steps that had to be taken. And maybe this is a good time for Marianne to weigh in.
So what was that conversation, Marianne? What were the possibilities that you thought you could achieve and maybe the things that you couldn't?
Yeah, you know, the conversation was really thrilling because we saw the brain research. We actually saw PET scans of the brain and what happens when children are in enriched environments versus when children are neglected and abused. And it is just so dramatically different. We were business leaders. I was at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Michigan then as an executive. I came at it from the healthcare perspective. And we all collectively agreed that business leaders needed to be engaged in this work because it was so important to our future as a state. We were convinced that investing in early childhood was really important because of the work that had been done in Ypsilanti, Michigan by the High Scope Foundation about the Perry Preschool Project. So we also heard about the return on investment from early childhood. And we said together, we need to really develop an agenda for early childhood in Michigan. That was our start.
So how did Ready to Succeed get to Great Start?
We were a voluntary organization. This summit of leaders, never formally incorporated. We didn't have the great American bylaws. We weren't struggling with the, myriad of staff people. We weren't an organization. And after about 3 to 4 years of meeting informally, the leadership of Ready to Succeed decided that the time was ripe to mature the movement, to create a public-private partnership with a solid financial base, and to move to professional staffing.
So how did you get Governor Jennifer Granholm on board then?
Well, it's a really interesting story. So I had moved from Blue Cross and Blue Shield to become the director of the Department of Human Services under the governor. And the governor actually asked me to take that job because of her commitment to early childhood. She knew I was chairing at that point the Ready to Succeed group. She knew that I had a passion about early childhood, and she really wanted state government to be a leader in institutionalizing what Craig talked about, that moving from this volunteer to something that was really structured in the state. So she gave me a charge to really build Michigan as a leader in early childhood, and we got groups together to talk about what that would look like. And we went from this group of volunteers to a very structured early childhood investment corporation.
You know, it's interesting. People might listen to this and they could think, well, why not just give state government these concepts and let them run with the application of it?
Well, it was that would be a logical course. But philanthropy, which is so important in Michigan, and prodding people to do the right things, at the table kind of fostered a view that having a quasi-government body, a body that had both government involvement and influence on, but also it had some flexibility and freedom to operate more like a business, was the right course.
So what model did you kind of model this after, Marianne?
Yeah, so what we decided was, in the state of Michigan, we have an investment corporation for small business. It's called the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And what we really needed was an investment corporation for young children. And so we modeled the Early Childhood Investment Corporation after the MEDC. And it is a state-local partnership. It involves the intermediate school districts and the state. And we really struggled with this question about top-down versus bottom-up, and we realized it has to be a partnership. Communities around the state all have different assets. They've got great commitment to this issue. They know what's right for their community, but the state can help them by aligning goals and aligning funding, and that was really part of our goal.
So you were both there in the beginning. How do you think that Great Start has fulfilled its promise?
Well, in many, many ways it did. But it was a part of a long-term process. What America has to come to grips with is a cultural change. This isn't just about government involving itself in ages 0 to 5, or as you say, even prenatal. It's a function of parents understanding and being well informed about how they can advance their kids into kindergarten, how they can build social skills and self-confidence, and leadership from the pulpit of churches, synagogues, to business leaders and labor leaders and educators and healthcare. That all is a reinforcement to this cultural change that is so essential.
Absolutely. Craig, Marianne, thanks so much for joining me. Governor Granholm has shared her thoughts about this important effort, so let's go ahead and take a listen to what she has to say about Great Start and what she thought it signified for Michigan.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Granholm. I served as Michigan's Attorney General and as Michigan's 47th governor, but way more importantly, I am mom to 3 fantastic kids, and making sure that they grew up happy and healthy and with the tools to succeed in their life, that's obviously always been my and my husband Dan's #1 job. So as governor, it became one of my top priorities to make sure that every child in Michigan had the same opportunity as my kids had. And it doesn't take a scientist to tell us that a kindergartner who shows up at school ready to learn starts preparing for that school day long before the school bell rings. It's all about that child's environment. But starting in the late 1990s, science began telling us just how early children really began to learn and how valuable these early years are in laying the foundation for success. So during my years in office, research was overwhelming that investing early produces a whole lot of good returns. Better education, better health, better economic outcomes. Early investment creates jobs in early childhood fields. It eases stress on parents so that they can be better workers and better parents. Investing early also significantly improves achievement in K through 12 for those children, as well as college. And certainly it leads to higher lifetime earnings. All of this while lowering the dropout rate and reducing juvenile and adult crime, as well as welfare dependence. So it was clear to me, like it was clear to our partners in the business community and the philanthropic community, that investing in early childhood development would be a really smart play for Michigan. And that's why we created the Great Start Initiative. And we set about building a comprehensive statewide early childhood system. And because we all knew this wasn't an undertaking for government alone, we established the Early Childhood Investment Corporation to be an innovator and a bridge between the public and the private sectors. And I'm so pleased to say that since then, Governor Snyder has actually built upon that foundation. He established the Office of Great Start within the Michigan Department of Education in partnership with Mike Flanagan to work with the Early Childhood Investment Corporation. So the statewide Great Start Network sends this very important message that Michigan sees parents and communities as part of the solution to a strong and thriving state economy. The promise of Michigan's Great Start Initiative gives evidence of all of this and more. Much has been accomplished, and there is still a lot more to do, but we are definitely off to a great start.
As we just heard, the former governor was invested in the Great Start Initiative. So what was the research that was emerging and driving her and this group of committed leaders so urgently toward early childhood development? Michigan is fortunate to have two of the country's foremost contributors to that research. Dr. Larry Schweinhart, president of the High Scope Educational Research Foundation, and Dr. Timothy Bartik, senior economist of the W.E. Upjohn Institute for Employment Research. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's great to be here.
Well, Dr. Schweinhart, let me start with you. You have been a key player in really one of the most cited pieces about early childhood development, the Perry Preschool study. So tell us what was actually in that study that spurred the research here in Michigan.
Well, we started the study, my predecessor, David Weichert, started the study back in 1962, almost half a century ago. And he set it up with an experimental design where children were randomly assigned to one group or the other so that we were sure that the difference between the two groups were the effects of the program and not something else, not because the parents were better off or whatever. And we were looking at kids living in poverty, and they got a good, high-quality preschool experience. It was really focused on active learning. The children were learning actively. There weren't rows of seats. There were activity areas. The children would plan, do, and review their activities every day. The teachers were sharing control with the children. It wasn't just about the teachers telling them what to do. And so then we looked at the effects of the program actually over a very long period of time. We're collecting data now at age 50, but we started out with 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and we found that the program made them more ready for school. We found that they had the kids who had the preschool program had higher school achievement. They were more committed to school, less placement in special education classes, and then they were more likely to graduate from high school. Then as adults, they earned more money. Their employment rate was higher, and they committed fewer crimes and had less time in prison. So all kinds of good things happen.
I was going to say, it's amazing findings. So how did that study then influence initiatives here in Michigan and across the country?
Well, one other summary of the findings, in a sense, was the fact that there was a very large return on investment. $7 for every dollar invested is a good estimate. And this is something unusual in public policy making, is real evidence of effectiveness like that, and particularly fiscal effectiveness. So it's been of great interest to a whole lot of people over a long period of time. One of the other nice things about a longitudinal study is that it recurs. We found effects at age 10 and at age 15 and 19 and 27 and 40, and now we're looking at 50.
Well, it really speaks also to Dr. Bartik's areas of expertise, talking about the economic issue and the connection with early childhood development. And you were really instrumental in bringing out sort of this is not just the right thing to do, but this is the smart thing to do. How did you come to that conclusion, that there is a connection, economic connection?
Well, what I've done is take the research that Larry and others have done, showing that high-quality preschool helps individuals. And then the issue is, does it pay off for the overall economy and overall society? And the answer is it does, not just at the federal level, but at the state level. So, which is important because the federal government has a lot on its plate, and there are some advantages to having these programs run at the state and local level. You have more flexibility to meet local needs. And so the question is, if you as a state government invest in this, will this boost your state economy? And it will, because if you build these, if you invest in kids, they end up as adults being more productive, having higher employment rates, higher skills. That's going to be a key competitive factor that will attract business to your state. It will help existing businesses grow and be more competitive. And it will pay off even for the folks whose education skills don't change. So there's huge spillover benefits. Sometimes people ask, why should I invest in other people's kids? And the answer is that the benefits for other people's kids from these investments in high-quality preschool will, in fact, affect everyone in the economy and boost the whole state economy. So if Michigan invests more in early childhood programs that are high quality enough and does it on a large enough scale to affect enough kids, we're going to have a more productive labor force, and as a result, we're going to have more jobs and we're going to have higher quality jobs.
So you've laid out the research for me, both of you have, and it would seem like it's a no-brainer. Do you think the decision makers are listening to this research and they have caught on to the importance of early childhood development?
Well, there's evidence that they're listening, but they could listen harder. And I think in particular, it's not just about the numbers of kids served, it's the quality of the programs they're served with. But we've got evidence at the state level and at the federal level of interest right now in early childhood education. Secretary Arne Duncan just visited the Perry Child Development Center. Governor Rick Snyder was with him. So the fact that we've got both Republicans and Democrats paying attention, I think everybody likes good investments, and we've certainly got one here.
Why has it taken so long for the wheels to turn?
I think that part of it is traditionally there has been a tendency to think about preschool and child care as being a purely private matter that the government should have no involvement in. And, you know, you can understand that as a natural reaction, but what people need to reckon with is that this is not only a private matter because there are these huge spillover benefits for all of society. So if all of us think that we need to get more and better jobs in our state and in the country, we can't afford to simply let this be a purely private matter because a lot of parents can't afford high quality preschool on their own. The reality is if you leave it to be purely a private matter, certainly many low-income families will not be able to afford high-quality preschool. And for that matter, given the cost of really high-quality programs, many working-class and middle-class families will find it very hard to afford high-quality preschool. So government does have an essential role in making access to affordable preschool a reality for all, and also in helping parents by setting quality standards and by helping inform parents of what to look for in a high-quality preschool program and how to find it.
Bottom line, Dr. Schweinhart, we need to invest in this.
Absolutely, and the sooner the better. We take too long to make these decisions.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. You know, Dr. Bartik has been working on several short animations to help get the word out concerning the impact of early childhood development on our economy. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of them.
A natural question is, why should I pay higher taxes to pay for more preschool for other people's children? What needs to be understood is that when an early childhood program enables children to become more productive, more skilled as adults, that benefits everyone in the local economy. Everyone is interdependent in a modern economy. When other people's kids gain in skills, it actually increases the prosperity of everyone. For example, even if my skills are fine without preschool, I benefit from having more skilled coworkers. If my employer is better able to introduce new technologies because more workers are skilled, That will increase the competitiveness and profitability of my employer and make it much easier for that employer to afford paying me high wages. If some of the local suppliers to my employer have better skilled workers, those local suppliers will be able to supply a better quality product at a lower cost. So we can see that a local economy's skills and productivity reflect the skills of everyone in the local area, and that affects everyone's wages. It affects the competitiveness of local businesses in the national and international market. So, if we invest our tax dollars in other people's kids through programs such as preschool, we not only help those children, we also help everyone in the local economy because we're going to see faster job growth and we're going to see more wage growth. When early childhood programs increase people's skills, this benefits all workers. We're all in this together.
Let's take a look at some of Great Start's great contributions to date. Among the most profound contributions of the Great Start Initiative has been the creation of a Great Start network across Michigan. These community-driven groups have come together because of their common interest in improving school readiness and outcomes for young children locally. They are doing some remarkable things across Michigan. And with me now is Joan Blau, Senior Vice President of Great Start System Strategy and Evaluation of the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, which helped to launch 54 collaboratives covering Michigan and now provides the glue and coordination through technical assistance, consultation, and training. Also joining her are Emily Brewer, who is the director of the Shiawassee Great Start Collaborative, and her co-coordinator, Don Trapp. And Shiawassee Regional Education Service District Superintendent Dave Schulte. Thank you all for joining me right now. So, Joan, take me back. Work on Great Start started about a decade ago. Why did public and private interests think it was so important to change the way children are prepared?
Well, you know, it was interesting because the science that was beginning to emerge, along with the research, started to show us how important it was to begin to understand how we could support children's health development and early learning from the earliest possible age. We saw achievement gaps for children that emerged. We saw problems with children's high school graduation rates, and it was more and more clear that if intervention didn't begin before children came to kindergarten, that it wasn't going to be possible to close that achievement gap over time.
So now we have this, and people I think can understand direct services, but this is more of like a connection and collaborations. How do you explain that to people?
Well, I think the thing that's important to understand about the Great Start system is that it's a both and. It is about high quality programs, but it's also about how those high quality programs are connected in ways that make sense for families and children, and also that makes sense in terms of ensuring that children get the services and supports they need to be successful, to be ready for school.
All right, so Emily, you're working directly with parents and with kids. Talk a little bit about your collaborative in Shiawassee and what you're doing there.
Well, as Joan mentioned, we really need to work together to build a system. And we've worked hard with our collaborative to build a strong collaborative as well as our parent coalition. And as long as those two kind of set the foundation and build us a strong foundation, then we can create the rest of the system, the framework for the system, to create an effective system.
So, Don, what do you think that you've done in Shiawassee? Because you've consistently shown that you guys are making a lot of progress in what you're doing. What do you think you've done that's been so successful? How are you reaching people?
I think that we've built upon the foundation, as Emily just indicated. We've also brought together the agency leadership of the major agencies within the county and the school system and the healthcare system, and brought them together to begin to talk about how we can work and collaborate and integrate services. A good example would be that we had a mother who had a premature child birth, and as a result of that, while they weren't concerned about the child, they were concerned about the mother. And the result was that that mother, although she was experiencing some depression, was referred to 3 different agencies that had mandated responsibilities. They all descended upon her at the same time in an uncoordinated fashion, and she rejected all of those. So our effort was to bring them together so that there's one central intake. A referral is made there, one person makes a contact with the family, and then that person is able to help that mother understand what programs and services are available, and then connect her to the appropriate program, and then to get those agencies to work together, be it the doctor with the medical home or the different agencies, to serve as one collaborative team. So they approach the parent in a coordinated fashion, and the parent's not responsible for trying to not only deal with the challenges of their child, but also with the coordination of all these different services. I think that's one of our efforts.
And the bottom line is also to make sure that the kids are prepared and they're ready for school. So, Dave, let me talk to you about the role of now the school district in partnering with this. What have you seen in the district?
I think that what we've seen is a partnership with our local school districts, and intermediate school districts are the only entity in the state that covers every county that has boots on the ground, to use that saying, and interacts with local school districts on a daily basis. So it really allowed us to look at planning, looking at common problems and common solutions. There's already a culture of collaboration in our organization. We already have a mandate as well as an institutional goal to collaborate in those environments. And it was able for us to bring all those people to the table and say, how do we solve this problem? What resources do we need to bring to bear to these issues? And that way everybody had a voice at the table. So it really helped create kind of that environment to have the discussion.
What are parents telling you?
I think parents tell us they appreciate the support. I think they appreciate the approach that we're taking to the solution. I think Don's example of trying to have a one-stop approach, that's one goal that we have, and we've actually set up our programs where in our offices we have different agencies that co-locate with us, and they're able to come in and get help at that one location. So they appreciate having the information, having kind of an easy way to get there. I think also the way that we approach it is in a non-threatening way. They've really appreciated the ability to come in and ask questions and have that safe environment to do that.
While we're talking about your programs in Shiawassee, I think what's interesting to note, Joan, is that you were looking at every region of the state. Every community is treated very differently, and it's unique in that way, that you treat them as different entities there. Not everyone's the same.
No, actually every single Great Start Collaborative does a community-based planning process where they really engage with stakeholders, families, children, foundations, business leaders, etc. in their community to define collectively what they see as the most important needs and priorities for the community, and then work together to resolve those issues based on the priorities of the community.
Emily, can you talk a little bit specifically about what some of the programs are that you're getting people involved with?
Sure. Through the strategic planning process that Joan mentioned, we really use data and community conversations to talk to our community about what is it that we need to address. And so some of our initiatives currently that we're working on is an oral health plan. We know that oral health is strongly linked to the health of the children overall, and many of our children don't have the dental health that they need. So we've engaged local dentists in this process as well as the medical community to put a flag in their electronic medical record to help doctors identify children young and refer them to the dentist to get the care they need early. We also are looking at our childhood obesity rates and looking at ways to make our community more physically active, as well as looking at what they're eating. And we also have a large initiative to look at our central intake process so that everybody can find us easily through one common referral, and that can somewhat get people to the proper services, including preschool services. We really would like to see all children access preschool, and we're combining and braiding funding streams in order to have many children who have different qualifications all being served in the same classroom.
Don, what would you say have been some of your biggest challenges?
I think sometimes the large challenges focus on how do we break the barriers of rules and regulations that come down that are attached to funding sources. And so one of our challenges has been to, not only at the local level, but also at the state level, help people to recognize and think through ways in which they can make those rules and regulations have the flexibility and adaptability so that you can utilize those services and those funding streams in a way that build capacity to serve, rather than seeing rules and regulations as ways that prevent customization to meet local needs, how can they look at the flexibility within those rules and regulations so that the intent of them is maintained, while at the same time they are able to build in the flexibility that's needed to deal with one setting versus another. What works in Detroit is not going to work in Owasso, Michigan.
You know, that I think brings up the interesting point of partnerships. And so let me ask you, Dave, what kind of partnerships have you seen from the community and from the state level in that way to make sure that you can carry out your mission?
I think that we've had great success in partnerships from all those levels. We have involvement with different state agencies. We have county involvement. We have local foundation involvement. We have just interested community members that are involved. We have state legislators that sit on our advisory board that attend whenever possible so that they're informed. And I think that part of this is, of that whole group network, is to get the information out there, because we can do a lot of organizing, bring a lot of people together, but it's still an area where there's not a lot of common knowledge about the benefits of these programs. So we take that and we're able to then share that information to increase knowledge. And we have our best advocates and our parents that can go back and explain how this has impacted their children, impacted their families. So we think it's critical to have all those interagency relationships at the table at all times, not only for planning purposes, but also for sustainability, but even then to go to the next step of trying to get the rest of the community to understand how important and how critical the work is that we're doing.
Okay, so Emily, you've come this far. Where do you want to see yourselves in 3 to 5 years from now?
You know, I'd love to see that all of these things that we've already started to put into place are just part of the system. So the work just happens fluidly. It's part of the culture. It's part of the community. Early childhood should always be something that is important to everybody and that just flows seamlessly. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I think it's going to look pretty good.
All right, and based on all the work that I'm hearing here, I definitely think it's going to look pretty good. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, you know, the Great Start collaboratives of Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties in southeastern Michigan are rolling out a pilot campaign for an ages and stages developmental questionnaire via the website helpmegrow-mi.org. PSAs were created to run on Detroit Public Television to create awareness around this home test that helps parents evaluate their children aged 2 months to 5 years old. Here's an example.
Did you know that interactions you have with your infant help get them ready to be successful in school? Does your infant smile and coo at herself in the mirror? Help Me Grow connects you to a free questionnaire and developmental resources for children birth to age 5. The more you know about your child's growth and learning today, the more you can support their future success. To learn more about Help Me Grow, call 877-327-5966 or online at helpmegrow-mi.org.
As a parent, there are many questions and concerns when it comes to choosing care for your child, regardless of whether you choose a family-based setting or a large care facility. We take a closer look at what one couple has to say about their high-quality child care and the impact it has on their children.
Quality is especially important because it's the foundation to a child's education. If they don't have a good foundation, then it'll definitely be a rocky start, and it'll make things harder as they progress in school. I wanted the best of the best as far as a public education.
It was important for us to find a place where we felt like could give our kids similar care, similar love, similar teachings as we do and try to instill in our kids in our home. So we felt comfortable in knowing after meeting the staff and how hands-on they were even from the beginning, and just giving us that comfort and knowing that, you know, they had our kids and they had the best interests of our kids in mind.
The teachers made it so easy by allowing me to email them. I mean, one of my son's teacher, I have her cell phone. They make it where they're accessible to me. So having that, I feel a sense of security that my children, whatever's going on, I can contact their teacher and they'll contact me back. I mean, no matter what, I'm usually receiving a response the same day. And I think that feels good because your kids are so young. They don't share as much without the prompting. So to know that they're okay and that they're gonna receive, their teachers are gonna treat them how I would treat them.
As a parent, I think that's one of the things that is very important for us to do, is to be informed about what's going on with our kids. You can't be with your kids 24/7, but when you're not with your kids, the person who has the care of your child, it's just really important that you do have a close relationship with them.
My sons, identical twin boys, one is outgoing and one is very cautious. Likes to make sure that he's safe and that he knows people and comfortable before he reaches out to anyone. And I remember sharing that with his teacher, and she really just was patient with him. She encouraged him, made him feel comfortable. And by the next week, it was no longer crying when I would drop him off. He would just quickly walk into the classroom, taking off his coat, smiling. And I know that's because of the how comfortable she made the learning environment.
Their skills with other kids and how they interact with other kids, their ability to adapt to different things, different environments. You can tell the growth and the difference from when they first came. So that's been great.
One of the most fundamental aspects of early childhood development is understanding that children are constantly learning. What they learn and how well they learn is critical during these years, because these are the years in which brain development is most profound. To that end, having quality early learning environments is one of the cornerstones of any early childhood system. In Michigan, we don't really know what the quality of our child care, Head Start, and preschool programs are, yet significant dollars are spent on these programs. But beyond what is, there is the question of what should be. And in Michigan, we want all early learning settings to be of the highest quality possible. With me now is Karen Roback, the Senior Director of the Early Learning Innovation, and Sherry Butters, Director of Great Start to Quality, both with the Early Childhood Investment Corporation. Also here with us is Lisa Brewer-Walraven, Director of the Child Development and Care Program with the Michigan Department of Education Office of Great Start. They are all going to tell us about the newest Great Start initiative, Great Start to Quality. Ladies, thanks so much for being here. So Karen, let me start with you. Great Start to Quality. Tell us about it, what it is, how does it work?
So Great Start to Quality is Michigan's version of a quality rating improvement system. The nation is really going forward with rating child care and preschool programs against a set of standards. So in Michigan, it's Great Start to Quality. We rate programs against a set of quality standards. And in Michigan, it's 5 stars, 1 to 5. The higher the level of quality, the more stars a program would receive.
So Lisa, do we really need a quality assurance? What's the child care landscape like in Michigan?
I would say we definitely need this system because it helps parents be able to identify the level of quality of the program that they are choosing for their child. It gives them the tools that they need to meet their needs. For providers, it gives them the opportunity to have their expertise and their quality recognized so that they can be highlighted. We know in Michigan that about 60% of children are in early learning settings, and the majority of those are child care settings. Last year alone, 50,000 children received child care subsidy to help support their time in those early learning settings. Those settings are far-ranging, from being with a family friend or neighbor to being in a licensed or regulated program where they're spending their time and having these experiences.
So this is a massive scope of and a range of places where people have their kids.
Yes. 62% of our children receiving subsidy in the state of Michigan are in the care of a licensed or registered provider.
So Sherry, let me ask you, this is not just about childcare. When we're looking at this Great Start to Quality, this is also looking at Head Start programs, preschool programs. How many people are we talking about in programs are we encompassing with this?
So right now for Great Start to Quality, we have about 2,400 programs that are have submitted and have some type of quality level in Great Start to Quality. We have about 4,000 providers who have logged in and gotten started. We're hoping that number continues to increase, and we have more and more providers that are submitting and getting their star ratings.
So I was just going to say, looking down the road, how many people or how many programs you want 100% compliance with this and everyone involved?
Absolutely. So we have almost 11,000 licensed programs in the state of Michigan, and it would be our hope at some point in the future we would reach total capacity and all providers would be participating. But just, seeing incremental increases over the years will be very encouraging.
I guess, what is the reaction then, Karen, to the people who say, well, is this a good system? Is this something that we want to get involved with?
Right. So there's two aspects. The opinion that we really shouldn't get involved, that it's parents' choices and parents should choose and they know what's best for their children. And then there's the opinion of everything needs to be regulated. Great Start to Quality is really a mix. It really does give parents the choice that they need. It gives them a very informed choice about the level of quality of the program that they might choose for their child.
Sherry, what are some of the biggest obstacles that you're facing in implementing this?
Well, I think change is hard. So, this is the first time that the state of Michigan has, went down this path. So I think, any change to, an already established system is going to be hard. So we just have some growing pains as we embark on some new things for providers in the state of Michigan, and new things for parents as well. So providers really want to be recognized for their quality level. So I think we're all working towards the same end, but just some bumps along the road as we get to that.
Lisa, what is it like in the coordination effort in putting something like this, a program like this together, and making sure that you are out with all the providers and making sure that they feel comfortable enough to be part of this system too?
I think it's really reaching out and using our local part of our system to ensure that relationships are being built and that people really understand that this is about helping them, providing supports to them to increase their quality. It's not a punitive system. We really do want to support them to increase their quality and provide good experiences for children.
Karen, what have been the reaction from parents when they find that there is this tool that they can take a look at and use?
So parents have been very positive. They actually want to see it become mandatory. Right now it's a voluntary system. So programs choose to participate and go beyond the first STAR level. So parents are very supportive. They see the different standards that are being looked at. Parents really want to know the staff qualification level, the curriculum that's being used, the meal times, the daily schedule. They want to know all those things, and Great Start to Quality really brings that to light for them.
All right, well, you know what? Let's pause the conversation right now for just a moment and take a firsthand look at how some Michigan providers see Great Start to Quality.
Quality preschool is definitely an investment for the state of Michigan. Children who are home before kindergarten do not have the experience being with other children, playing in the classroom, listening to a teacher, following routines, following directions.
School shouldn't just be school. Our kids need to know how to interact. I'm thankful that they are showing the kids how they should look at things differently. We all need to learn how to work together, and that's what they're teaching them, is how to work together as a whole.
I'm 51 and my wife's 47, and my daughter, she's 4 years old, and she doesn't have anybody in her age to play with, so for her to come here and get an education and play with these other children, it's really helping her out a lot. We've been to birthday parties with other children, definitely school that she goes to, and she talks about them all the time.
Social development is so important for success in school. If you don't know how to solve problems or you don't know how to be independent, you're not going to be able to focus on the academics that happen in kindergarten through 12th grade.
The Great Start Readiness Program is a free program funded by the state of Michigan, and it's a wonderful program because we really get to not only know the child individually, but we also get to know the family.
It really is up to the parents and teachers to work together to help your child in the long run. The teacher sees different sides of the child, and they might have better suggestions of what you can do to improve your child. Working with the teachers, they did give me more tools and equipment to work with my child at home.
We teach to the whole child. That means we address their social emotional skills, their language skills, their cognitive skills, and we try to get all of those skills in place for kindergarten.
Once they have that down by coming to a quality preschool, they're going to just be more successful entering their kindergarten year and then on from there. So investing in preschool is really where it all begins.
You can't help but smile when you see those kids in group time and singing and having such a good time. I think we focus so much about helping parents and helping children in early childhood, but really this rating system, Lisa, is also helping the providers, the child care providers, really be the best that they can be as well.
It is providing them an opportunity to have a common set of standards that they're all working towards achieving, and being able to participate in a system that allows them opportunities to get professional development, to have a one-on-one coach or mentor that's working with them, giving them ideas for things they can do with the children and families in their program. So again, it's providing supports to them to continue to increase their quality to provide the best experience possible.
Sherry, we heard from some of the child care providers there and some of the teachers there, but what are some of them telling you about how the job that they're trying to do and the fact that they're getting a little help along the way here?
So I think, what we're hearing is that providers are really appreciating the opportunities to engage in some of those supports. So, access to free training, access to resources through the lending libraries that are established across the state with Great Start to Quality. So there's increased access to tools and training and those things that help them to improve their quality and just support the maintenance of quality. Parents are really, as Karen shared, it's exciting to have, as a parent myself, it's exciting to be able to go online and find a provider and know that I'm making a good choice. And that's what we're hearing from parents, is that it's exciting to have that type of control over your child's experience. You can make good choices and have access to information you didn't have before.
I would say exciting. I'd also say empowering, Karen, as well, that you feel that you are trying to make the right choice and you have the best tools in front of you to do so. Are you finding that more parents are getting involved in early childhood education for their kids?
I think absolutely. It is very empowering. I think that's absolutely the right word. Parents are not only getting more involved in early childhood education, but they want to know what happens next. So as they get more involved in early childhood education and they want to know what's happening at their child center or home program, they then go on to the next step. What's happening for kindergarten? It's a natural way for parents to start getting involved early.
Oh, and it's a great shift. You can see the parents and the growth and the kids and starting earlier and earlier. Lisa, we always like to see results, though, and especially when you're talking about funding and money and we're talking about Lansing and lawmakers, they always like to see maybe what the end result is. Is Great Start to Quality a good tool in that way, that it shows the result here?
I think it is. Again, we have a set of standards. Everybody's being evaluated against those same set of standards. So it's very easy for anyone, parent, lawmaker, legislator, to see those star ratings and know exactly what level of quality the program is and what kind of outcomes can be expected for the children who are participating in those programs.
Because Sherry, really the bottom line is we want to make sure that our kids are ready to go to school, that when they walk in that door in kindergarten, that they are going to be ready to learn and that they have already been given the tools to succeed in life. Have we reached that point with programs like this?
We're getting there. Great Start to Quality has put a lot of pieces in place that will help us move further down the path to getting to that point. I think as young as Great Start to Quality is, I wouldn't say we're 100% there, but we certainly, it's a step in the right direction, and it'll get us there a whole lot faster than we were in the past.
So I guess then looking at down the road and the time frame, what is your hope or your goal in the next year or two with this program?
So our vision for Great Start to Quality would be if we doubled the number of programs that are participating, and Sherry said we have about 2,400 programs, if we were able to double that over the next year, that would be outstanding. To increase the number of programs participating by that percentage would just be incredible, and we would be setting the pace for the nation.
Amazing. So Sherry, last off, what do parents need to know?
Well, parents need to know they can go to greatstartconnect.org and look for childcare. They also need to know that that's where they find the ratings for childcare, so they would find their star level rating next to the program. But they also need to know they need to just ask their provider, are they shooting for the stars? Are they participating in Great Start to Quality? And ask their provider if they're participating, and if not, why?
Great information. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. You know, it's a series of 18 PSAs directing parents to the Great Start to Quality website and highlighting the values of quality childcare. They're being broadcast statewide on public television. Here's an example of what to look for. This one is called Finding Quality.
When you're searching for a quality child care center, it's really difficult. The first place I sent my daughter, she would come home and she would talk about all the TV shows that she's watched that day. And now she comes home and she talks about how she can count to 12 in Spanish. And that's just really speaks wonders on the quality of the preschool that she attends.
Quality counts. To learn more about Great Start to Quality and how you can shoot for the stars, visit greatstarttoquality.org. Investing in Michigan's future.
Both Great Start to Quality and the Great Start Network are significant achievements of the Great Start Initiative to date. But there is much more happening in this important effort to build an early childhood development system for Michigan. Let's welcome back Joan Blau, Senior Vice President of Great Start System Strategy and Evaluation at the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, and find out what else is happening in Michigan to help our youngest learners get that great start for learning and for life. So, Joan, what is next in the pipeline that we can be looking for?
Well, one of the things that we've been working on for a number of years is the spread of what's called family-centered medical home, which is really helping pediatricians and family practitioners create in their offices sort of a hub for young children. So we know that most families attend to their children's development, they keep their pediatric appointments, and that's the best place for us to ensure that children get developmental screening. And then if there are developmental issues, they can be referred to other services in the community, which are helping them to ensure that development stays on track all the way to kindergarten. We have a number of what are called Children's Healthcare Access Program pilot sites that are in Michigan right now. Started in Kent County, also now in Wayne County, Shiawassee County, Kalamazoo, Calhoun are all working on this. And we see it as the next wave of making sure that the health services that children really need that are so vital to their early learning and development are available for them before they go to school, and also connect them to other important community resources.
You can reach those parents. It's a captive audience right there.
Absolutely, and ensure that we're really listening to what they're observing and seeing, perhaps moving away from what has traditionally been a kind of wait and see approach, because we understand much more about how there are different windows for development for young children. We don't want to miss those windows. Important times for vision, hearing, speech, and physical fine motor and gross motor development. We want to make sure we get children the right services and supports so that it doesn't impede their learning and school success opportunities.
So when you sit back, Joan, and you think of what the next program or the next thrust is going to be, what kind of factors do you take into consideration before you say, this is the next thing that we need to do to start to roll out to reach parents and kids?
Well, I think it's really important for us to do a number of things. One is that we try to track what's happening nationally and now more and more internationally, because early childhood development really is a global issue and it's becoming an increasingly important national issue. So we're looking at emergent national findings around what do we know and understand the science of early childhood? What does it tell us about what we should be trying to do when? Of course, we very much value the input and experiences of the local Great Start collaboratives and parent coalitions, who often, through their efforts, identify things that could be working better. So some of our innovations are not necessarily wholesale, something no one's ever thought of, but really being able to step back and say, this was a great program when it started 10 years ago, but really times have changed. Science has changed, so let's look at how we could make things better for the future for children and families.
And modify a little bit as you move along.
Absolutely. We really use a process of what I like to think of as continuous learning to really understand what's happening as we're implementing these innovations and try to make sure that by the time we say, okay, it's ready to go, let's launch it, we've tried to work out all the bugs so that when things are out there functioning in the community, it's easy for families to access what they need.
Do you ever find that parents sometimes get confused? You have Great Start collaboratives, you have Great Start readiness. How would you explain to them to kind of keep all the various programs that are absolutely great resources out there for them to take advantage of?
Well, I think the way to think about Great Start is it's the umbrella. And what we were trying to do by co-branding so many things with Great Start was to say, this is the umbrella, okay, follow the spine down, right? So if folks in their community start with their Great Start Collaborative, that's the place where the organizations, both the public and private, come together. It's an entry point for families. If they don't know anything else, they can call there. What's important to understand about the things that are co-branded with Great Start is they're all ultimately related to getting kids ready for school.
Bottom line, if you have a child in Michigan, even before they've reached grade school, what do you need to know about the resources that are available out there for you?
Well, I think it's very important for all families to understand how important prenatal care is and to gain access to prenatal care as soon as possible. It's also critically important that families understand how important their child care choice is. We know most families in Michigan need to use child care because both parents work very hard. And child care is going to matter, and for a lot of children, that's the environment outside their home they spend the most time. And we want that to be the highest quality possible. Kids are learning, developing, growing, forming relationships. High quality matters in child care. And then I would say to any parent, if you see something that doesn't feel right to you, don't give up in pursuing somebody that will help you find out what's going on with your child, because early development and learning really matters to your child's life success.
It's great information, Joan. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
What a powerful statement about the promise of Michigan's Great Start Initiative and the people and the groups who are making it happen. Without any doubt, early childhood development is coming of age in Michigan. Where it goes from here, only time will tell. But one thing is for certain, our state's youngest learners have an amazing group of committed leaders in their corner. What a great way of raising the next generation of leadership for Michigan. I'd like to thank all of my guests for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the people of Michigan's Great Start Initiative. Learn more about this important work at greatstartforkids.org. I'm Christy McDonald. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.
This program was brought to you by the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, assuring solid returns from solid investment in early childhood development.